in charge of sports into this aim at achieving what has been described as an appropriate sports economy?
Yeah, I think for me, what has also led to this, postponement of the National Sports Festival, don't forget, I think by then we have the Sport Ministry, which John Wanino, of course, was the head. He was actually the one who actually postponed it to January. But since there was change, in terms of ministry, where we saw the National Sport Commission being reinstated, Shehu Diko came in. I think that was also what prompted that change once again, to May at this point in time. I think Shehu Diko and his board really want to take a look at, the National Sport Festival and being able to also instill their own idea and make sure that, of course, it actually has something to behold at the end of the day. Because when you take a look at it, the National Sport Festival is just like the National Olympics. So it should be something that could possibly be attractive. It could be something that could be able to, of course, draw audience, all over the world down here to Nigeria. I think that's what they're trying to do at this point in time. Secondly, well, I came to understand that some of the sporting facilities in Ogun State are not equipped enough. There's still a lot to be done to make sure that whenever the athlete comes in, they have a proper welfare, and all of that. It's not good that we're competing, the athletes will be competing in a dilapidated facility. That would be very, very bad. You talk about the athlete, they need a bed space, of course, to stay. They need proper place, to stay to make sure that they compete in a healthy condition. So all of this, being put in place, I think that's what has actually prompted the postponement once again of the National Sport Festival. But we hope come May that everything will be in place, for this one to take place.
Well, let's hope that there will be no further postponement of the Gateway Games from November to May, and let's hope that May will be realistic under the new leadership of Shehu Diko as the head of the National Sports Commission. And talking about the National Sports Festival, Kingsley, it is supposed to be a breeding ground for future athletes for the country. Is this still in place?
Definitely. It is, but it has not really lived up to expectation. I think we could mention some more athletes who have actually gotten prominence, from this National Sports Festival. Lots of people actually, came out of here. You talk about the likes of Hutu Soro. These are athletes that have benefited from the National Sports, Festival. But, we expect the National Sports Festival to be a ground, just like you mentioned, that can unearth much talent. But that has not always been the case. Most of the time, whenever we see these athletes come to compete, they go back home and nobody hears about them anymore. There is no proper ground, of course, to continue to educate them or for them to train and get themselves, very much strengthened to compete on the global scene. There is no laid-down plan, to follow up this athlete down to their homes to make sure that, of course, they are proper means of tracking them and making sure that they are they keep on doing what they are supposed to do to get themselves fit. And for me, I think that's what the organizers of the National Sport Festival, I won't just say the organizers, the different sporting federation also talk about the sport ministry that was there. Now we have the National Sport Commission. I think they have failed, in that aspect. Just few athletes are being able to be spotted, whenever the National Sport Festival takes place. But for me, in the last 3 to 4 years, I don't think we've actually spotted talent, from the National Sports Festival. It's just athletes they come and compete and go back home, and nothing else, of course, we've heard, from them. So at this point in time, I think the purpose of the National Sports Festival has not really, been realistic at this point in time. It's supposed to be a ground where we get in talent, put them into the sporting federation, and there should be a laid-down plan on how to grow these athletes in terms of their welfare and making sure that they be well trained. But at the end of the day, we do not see it. We hope that the plans of Shehu Diko will also cover this area as well, because when you talk about sporting talent, this is where you have to start sporting the talent. We understand school sports, of course, will return, and all of that, but this is where you tend to spot out the talent to make sure that, of course, you get those that can compete for us at the global scene.
Best years to come, and we look forward to the National Sports Commission organizing a proper Gateway Games or National Sports Festival that will lead to the emergence of young and breeding stars in sports. After all, we have aging athletes already needing adequate replacement. Now let's get to basketball. Kingsley, the Nigerian Basketball Federation says it has tip-off preparations and, of course, build up from last of this crucial qualifying window for the 2025 Men's Afro Basketball Championship. Can the Tigers go past their counterparts from Libya?
I think for me, if you take a look at the D Tigers of Nigeria, there's been a very huge decline in terms of performance. It was so sad, last year they couldn't qualify for the Olympic game, and that was a very, very abysmal one. In fact, in the qualifiers they played, they lost all the games they played. That's to tell you how deteriorated the D Tigers team, of course, has been at this point in time. And at this point, bulk of our foreign base, do not really come up anymore to compete for the country. But I hope that this will be, there will be a change at this point in time where we'll see the likes of maybe Precious Achunwa and the rest of them probably could come in and also assist the guys. Because from what we're getting at this point, the NBBF president Musa Kida is saying that there's going to be mixture of foreign base and home base player. But for me, I really fear, for the home base players, because they've not really been active. They've not really been that fantastic. There is the Nigerian Basketball League here is not consistent, and the players are not fit. Most of them, are much rusty. Take a look at it when River Supers, of course, are playing. They even have to go and get foreign hands to make sure that, they win the tournament, even especially when they go participate in the Basketball African League. So you can see that the state of basketball in the country is really affecting us when it has to do with championship like this. And I think for me, the Nigerian Basketball Federation, they really have to step up if we want to compete on a very high level. Before, the Tigers used to be a force to reckon with in Africa at any point in time. Even this Afro Basketball Championship, they were former champions. They won it, several times. But of a recent, I think it has been a very huge decline at this point in time. And I think Musa Kida really have to step up to see how to strengthen basketball, here in Nigeria.
For basketball championship coming up in Rwanda in just about 5 months or so from now, and we just hope that the D Tigers will be able to go past their opponent, and of course they become a fixture at the main Afro Basketball Championship. Musa Kida, very experienced leader, head of the Basketball Federation here in Nigeria, should know what to do and ensure that Nigeria returns to the summit of basketball in Africa, and of course do win. After all, we've been winners before, and 4 times semi-finalists, Kingsley, or even silver medalists. We need to keep our reputation in basketball across Africa.
Definitely, we really have to keep our reputation when it has to do with basketball. I think we've done a lot over the years, and this is not the time where we should relent. This is not the time where we should slack at this point in time. Musa Kida is actually an experienced basketball administrator. He's been there for so many years. I think it's then time for him to bring up his wealth of experience and strengthen basketball down here in Nigeria. What we need, most importantly, is a very, very comfortable league running in the country. It's very unfortunate that we only see the basketball league in Nigeria once in a year. And that, for me, that's not a very good one. At least the league should come up, twice, in a year, and it should be in the proper format, not the abridged, format we normally see at this point in time. So there should be proper investments. There should be proper attention paid to basketball, or else we'll continue to struggle at this point in time. Because if you want to rely on the home-based players, you definitely won't get it right. Take a look at the Olympic game that the D Tigers, of course, competed, which they have a very impressive performance. We didn't see the home-based players, the girls, down here. Even none of the MFM ladies were even in that team, and that was very, very disappointing. After we lost, Erna Wakama came back and told the NBF that they have to develop basketball down here in Nigeria, or else it will continue to struggle when it has to do with the global scene. Take a look at some countries that are dominating when it has to do with basketball. United States of America, you talk about Germany, Serbia, and the rest of them. These are countries that they have a very, very comfortable basketball league, and with that, you can be able to unearth talent that could represent the country. So for me, I think proper investment has to be done in basketball down here in Nigeria.
Talking about basketball reminds me that there has been action in the new year across in the regular season in the NBA in the United States of America. Kingsley, I'm not too sure. LA Clippers have negotiated this kind of performances in the new year. They couldn't make up to 100 points in their fixture against San Antonio Spurs that beat them by 128 points to 88 scored, recorded by the LA Clippers.
For me, I think that was, of course, a very, very abysmal one. And the fact that they were even at home, in that encounter, that makes it worse. For you to be beaten, of course, in that very margin, 122 to 86, couldn't even get up to 100 points at home. That was a very disappointing one. on the new year, for the LA Clippers. But I just hope, they see how to bounce back, from this embarrassing defeat, and see how to strengthen themselves, of course, as the regular season continues.
Thunderstruck, or do I say thunderstruck as many times, 113 times against Minnesota Timberwolves that had only 103 points in that fixture. Oklahoma City Thunders, no doubt, playing at home were stronger against the Wolves from Minnesota.
I think I expected that level of performance. If you take a look at it, the Thunders, they've been thundering, for some time now. If you take a look at their conference, they're well seated, comfortable in that particular, one. And for me, I think it's as a result of the performance we've seen from them so far. Taking out Timberwolves, of course, in that encounter, 113 to 105. I think that was a very impressive performance from them. I think if you take a look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, the one of the side we should be looking forward to this season.
San Antonio Spurs beat LA Clippers, while I'm sure the other Los Angeles team, Lakers, didn't negotiate what they saw against Cleveland Cavaliers. Like Kingsley did mention there, we saw LA Lakers playing at home and losing. So if you're from Los Angeles, I'm not too sure this is the way to start the year in basketball, because Lakers lost, Clippers lost as well. Let's look at the final match we saw on New Year Day in the United States of America. Phoenix Suns, 122 points as compared to 117 points scored by Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, of course. For me, I think from what we've seen, the Memphis Grizzlies, they have been on the other side that have been so fantastic. I'm so disappointed with the level of performance of the Phoenix Suns, this season. They've not been up there. I expected them, of course, to be on a very high level, competing with the likes of the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they've not really shown that tenacity. But last season, we saw them blazing, but all of a sudden this season, not the kind of performance so many persons expect at this point in time. But I will hope that they're going to at least, try to see how, of course, to get to the playoff and see what they will be able to do at the end of the day.
Let's now go to athletics, and there's good news because double Olympic champion Beatrice Chibet, remember her, has now been crowned crowned her golden year as she smashed the women's 5,000 world record at the Kozas meet held in Barcelona, Spain. This is a 24-year-old Kenyan making the continent of Africa proud. She raced in 13 minutes 54 seconds to become the very first woman to break the 14-minute barrier in the 5,000 event. Kingsley, Chibet, remember she won the 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters gold medal at the Paris Olympic last year. Yeah. And now beating her own mark. Now racing by more than 19 seconds better than our own high standards.
Impressive. Unprecedented, of course, you say at this point in time. For me, I think it's been an impressive one. Take a look at what she's been able to do for herself. From last year where she competed, at the Paris Olympic game, had a very impressive performance in the 5,000 meters and the 10,000 meters. And then, of course, finishing the year on a very, very impressive fashion. For me, impressive one. This is what, of course, the Kenyans are known for. Long distance races has always been their thing, over time. And that's why when I take a look at things like this, I always say, Nigeria, what are we really known for? Yes, we're known for football, partially basketball, athletics, but we have to stand out. Whenever you bring the Kenyans, in such kind of, environment, you see them, excelling. That's the result of they've invested time, they've invested resources, they've also made sure that, they equip themselves, at every point where they have to go, compete in such, competition. I think for me, it's been years of hard work, for Chibet, for her to get, of course, to this level. And from what she's been able to do, it's going to take a lot of time before you see anybody, probably surpassing this particular record that she has set for herself. Kudos to her.
Congratulations to Chibet from Kenya, winning and, of course, improving on her own personal best in the 5,000 meters event there. We'll say congratulations, and I look forward to her excellent performances in the year 2025. Let's now get to tennis. Tennis, world number one Arina Sabalenka in the female category of tennis has opened her season with a 6-4, 6-love season, trashing Renata Zarazua at the Brisbane International held in Australia. Kingsley, this is world number one in female tennis starting 2025, the way she ended 2024.
Impressive. What a way to start 2025 for Arina Sabalenka. I think this will go a long way, of course, in helping her in terms of, her morale and entering down, to this season at this point in time. This is just a preparatory tournament for her heading down to the Australian Open. Don't forget that she had a very impressive outing in last year Australian Open. This is going to be another time for her to see how to continue what she did, last year. I will hope that, the energy will be there. She'll be free from injury to make sure that she'll be able to compete on a very high level. Because for what I'm seeing, the WTA will be very, very competitive this season. Iga Swiatek is looking forward to bounce back to her world #1 spot. Coco Gauff as well, Jessica Pegula. We can't forget the young Jen Singwen, who is also coming up as well. So I would just hope that, Aryna Sabalenka will be in the best of form and be free from injury to be able to maintain her position.
World #1 in female tennis, Aryna Sabalenka from Belarus, taking out her opponent from Mexico, Zarazua, in just about an hour, 63 minutes to be specific, and that is the way to get started in the year 2025. Pleasing performances coming from World #1, like Kingsley said there. The next is the Australian Open. And talking about her performances at the Australian Open, she's a defending champion, remember?
Yes, definitely.
And she's won the Australian Open twice. And we're looking forward to seeing the first woman to do it consecutively 3 times.
Yeah, actually a familiar ground for Aryna Sabalenka. She's done it, several occasions, and just like you mentioned, twice down there. So it is something she really understands. But I'm also looking forward to the fact that, there will be competition, coming up at this point in time. But when you take a look at her form and how she's also been prepared, for this one, you say she stand a very good chance at this point, all for retaining the title she won last time. But I think it's going to come with a very, very stiffer competition. I just hope that, of course, she's ready for what to come our way.
Aryna Sabalenka has to be ready, and I think she is, given by her first match in the year 2025, and it's been one where she's had her opponent under wraps in just about an hour. I'm sure the other ladies in the WTA must be very wary, and of course expect fireworks from Aryna Sabalenka from Belarus. Now let's get to football. Kingsley, Enyimba International of Aba, I'm sure, ended the year 2024 on a very not impressive note. After a frustrating goalless draw against Insurance Obini, the match day 19, inside of their own Enyimba International Stadium in Aba. This is very sad. I'm not too sure this is the kind of 2024 they are expected. But again, they've not won a game in 13.
Yeah, so sad. Very disappointing for a top side like Enyimba Football Club in the Nigerian Premier Football League, not being able to win in 13 games. That's so sad. Maybe as a result of the fact that the former coach, Emil Olarawaju, maybe wasn't really fantastic.
Yeah, talking about former coach, Enyimba International, I understand, has a new coach in Stanley Eguma, former Rivers United coach.
Yeah, and I think Eguma was at the touchline yesterday, and he was able, of course, to, orchestrate, things down there. But the side were not really good enough, of course, to get a goal against Bender Insurance, who are also struggling to see how to stay, afloat in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But that was Eguma first game. I think he's trying to get himself acquainted with the players and also to instill his philosophy. So I think with time, we'll possibly see what Eguma will be bringing to the table for Enyimba Football Club. An impressive one. I think they were able to get Branny Day into the side, and of course he had a debut yesterday. Had a very couple of impressive performance. We hope that with this injection of new players and as well the coach coming in, Stanley Eguma, who is an experienced manager in the Nigerian Premier Football League, we hope Enyimba will bounce back.
Enyimba is expected to bounce back. After all, they have 3 outstanding games, and we hope that those 3 games will translate to better performance that we will see the team climb up on the log. Right now, we are told that new faces there. We told you about Stanley Eguma and Branny Day, maybe emulating the track of Ahmed Musa, a former Super Eagles captain. It's nice that veteran players of Nigeria are returning back to the league here in Nigeria to maybe retire from the game. Ahmed Musa the other day, and continues to bring fans to the stadium in Kano and across the country. And now Branny is joining Enyimba International, and hopefully will make his mark as well.
I think for me it's a very impressive one. A good way to go for the Nigerian Premier Football League. There we're seeing the Super Eagles stars coming down to play in the MPF. I listened to Branny Day yesterday, and he was saying that there are so many Nigerian players abroad that are willing to come back to play in the league, but they are afraid for the fact that the league do not have a very good structure. And that's actually, of course, the problem. So I think Benga Elegbele and his men will try as much as they can, of course, to put the league in proper shape
at least for we to compete with the likes of South Africa, Egypt, and the rest of African countries, you see these top stars, coming back. I think we have about 3 of them already in the MPFL. Brandy Day is one of them. Ahmed Musa is one of them. We can't also forget Abdullahi Shehu, who is also with Kano Pillars with Ahmed Musa as well. So if the league have a very good structure and runs properly, and there's also money coming in, who says these players, of course, won't come in and play? We've even seen top coaches coming in to coach the MPFL teams. Emmanuel Amonike is here. We have Affinity George as well. I think there was a time we saw Eddie Nombraye with Lobby Stars, and as well Imam Mapakabo with Abia Warriors at this point in time. So I think the league have that attractive factor. We just have to improve what we have down here, and we'll see players, trooping down to play the MPFL.
Nigeria Professional Football League, we understand after 19 matches in 2024, we'll go on a 3-week break. Kingsley, this 3-week break will enable the club sides, rejig their team, and the transfer window, we understand, too, is open. So there'll be opportunity to 45 teams in this 3 weeks window that the club sides will be on break.
Yeah, definitely. I think so many teams need to, of course, beef up their team ahead of the second stanza of the league, especially Enugu Rangers. Don't forget they're defending champion. They've not been that fantastic due to the fact that they failed to acquire players before the league got started, and that has also hindered their performance, a little bit. And for the likes of Enyimba Football Club, I think they also need to get some couple of players, to be able to strengthen the side, going forward at this point in time. Even I think Remo Stars, they are good to go. Rivers United as well, I think they are also good to go. They were able to put up their team in order before the league, got started. So I think at this point in time, the 3-week break is the time to re-strategize, and of course, being able to beef up the squad with new players and see how it is, because it promises to be
a very, very competitive one. Rivers United are looking forward to maintain their top spot. Remo Stars, Enugu Rangers, we've seen a certain Shooting Stars coming up. Economy Warriors also in the mix, Enugu Rangers. So it's going to be very, very competitive come the second stanza of the league.
The Nigeria Professional Football League is on break now. They will resume after 3 weeks, and we hope that the coaches and management of the respective club side will use the opportunity to fortify their team and they're ahead of the task. But meanwhile, Kingsley, Remo Stars lead on the Premier League table here in Nigeria.
Impressive. I think if you ask me, Remo Stars, they are the most organized team, if you ask me, in the Nigerian Premier Football League. Very well organized, very focused. They don't, look down on themselves. Even though they lose a game, they are going ahead to make sure that, they win this one. Their head coach, Daniel Ogumodede, I think this is his 3rd season with the side. And he's been finishing, I think, 2nd in the last 2 seasons. And for me, if you take a look at it, the management expect him now to win the league. And that's why, of course, they are pushing very high at this point in time. Though they've not gotten a very good outing in the continent. But when you think about the MPFL, they've done a lot since they got promotion, to the MPFL. So I think this season, their target is to win the league. And that's why they've been pushing this very hard in the MPFL.
Now let's quickly go to Europe, because we have to wrap up on our first edition of the program this year, 2025. And Kingsley, one fixture that will light up the new year, or that they set the new year off in the Premiership of England, is Brentford versus Arsenal. Arsenal has been looking at challenging Liverpool, who presently leads the league table in England. Yeah,
it promises to be an exciting game, and for the position Arsenal find themselves now, they don't have to lose any game going forward. In fact, this game against Brentford, it should be all 3 points, or else the title chase will be very difficult for them. As it stands now, they are about 9 points behind Liverpool. That's, a very massive one. When you take a look at the form at which Liverpool are, they look unstoppable. It's very difficult for you to get a victory or win them at this point in time. So I think Arsenal, whatever they have to do now, if they must, compete or chase the title with Liverpool, they must win the games that comes their way. So unfortunate that from reports we're getting that Bukayo Saka is still not fit, at this point in time. And for me, huge setback. We understand injury has been a very huge worry for Arsenal. We understand when Declan Rice went on injury, even Martin Odegaard, that brought setback, for Arsenal Football Club. But at this point where they seem, the fact that they might not be having Bukayo Saka, I think for me that's another worry. But we'll see what Mikel Arteta will be able to do. I think this is his 5 years now with the Arsenal football team, and the fans are expecting him. You have to win the Premier League for us we'll just see what comes up for him this season.
This is 2025. I'm not too sure this is the way Arsenal, Manchester legend Wayne Rooney wanted it to start because he's just been fired by his championship side Plymouth. He's had tones and tones of very bad results, and it was only inevitable that Plymouth in the championship in England will fire Wayne Rooney, a former Manchester United legend.
It's a sad one for Wayne Rooney, very disappointing one. And at this point in time, I think you have to sit down and ask yourself, is coaching really my calling, you know, at this point? Is it really his calling at this point in time? Because he's had time with Derby County, DC United, and he has
all dismal performances.
Yes, so dismal. And now Plymouth, and you know, halfway into the season, and his contract is being terminated and all of that. So he has to sit back and look at it at this point in time, if what he's doing is right, if he's really getting it right. Is there something he's not getting right at this point in time? He has to sit back and look at it critically before even looking forward to manage another team at this point in time, because it's actually a dent to his CV that since he started managing, he has not been able to put up a very top-notch performance with any team. It's a disappointing moment for Wayne Rooney.
Very disappointing moment for Wayne Rooney. His club side, Plymouth, will be up against Bristol City today, and let's hope that his absence maybe might change the fortune of the team. And that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk here on the Atlantic Television Network. The very first in the year 2025. It promises to be a thrilling year for us here, and we urge you to be part of the show in the year 2025 because there's a lot in the offing for you. A lot of surprises too as well. Kingsley, 2025 is here. What do we look forward to?
A lot, of course, you know, from here, from us here on Atlantic Television Network. I think what we owe our viewers is the best, you know, sporting reportage. And of course, 2025 promises to be another exciting year for us, where we'll take a look at everything, you know, concerning sports. Everything,
especially the movement in January. Don't worry, forget that it's January transfer window. A lot of people are thinking of Victor Osimhen moving. Will Victor Osimhen move? Stay with us here. We'll brief you on his movement all in this month of January 2025. Once again, Happy New Year, and have the best of all that you expect in the year 2025.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.